So let's talk about the interior of the new Toyota Tacoma. There have been a lot of complaints and things out there about there being too many plastics. Everything is thin. You get a lot of noises and rattles and stuff. We're going to go for a quick ride. I'm going to let you hear what it sounds like on the inside. But speaking of what it sounds like, let's listen to it for a second while we're sitting in the truck. I mean, it's really pretty quiet. You probably can hear the air conditioning in the background. The truck does seem to almost cycle a little bit. In other words, the fan for the engine, you sit for a couple seconds, something kicks on under the hood, the fan, the cooling system, and then it gets quiet, and then not too long later, it kicks back in again. So you can hear it kind of running a little bit on the inside. Let's take a listen on the outside. Open the door here, you can kind of hear what it sounds like, and you might hear it cycle. I'll be quiet for a minute. There you can kind of get a general idea of what the Tacoma sounds like on the outside. It's not horrible. Obviously, it doesn't sound like a throaty V8 sitting here, but you do get a little bit of sound out of it if you're looking for something. Now, speaking of the interior, let's take a look around, I guess. I've had this truck for a while now, and kind of wanted to give you an idea of the gaps and the materials and all that stuff. I haven't noticed any issues with it other than that early on little glove box thing I had where I put those little stoppers in. What I'm talking about is right here, because these nubs were not strong enough, I don't think, to keep the door here from kind of bouncing around. So I put these little stoppers on. I'm sure Toyota probably has a better fix for it than that, but that keeps it nice and quiet. You'll see when we're going down the road. As far as the rest of the plastics inside, I mean, I've never come across any vehicle, unless you go really high end, that doesn't have a good amount of plastic inside. It's just the way it is. Now, we do have some softer areas in the dash. This is a little bit softer, pretty darn firm, but it's not like a harder plastic like, say, the bezel around the radio. That's just fine. I mean, I don't know how many people sit around leaning or laying on that center or dash area. So even if it were hard plastic, other than for safety concerns, I don't know that it's really a big deal. Doesn't make any difference to me. The rest of the plastics in the front part of the dash area here, I mean, they all look nice. They all look good. We do have a soft feel here in the glove box, and then the areas that you actually might impact, I suppose. But everything else, I think, is just the way that it should be. I don't have any issues with that. Fit and finish. Let's look at some gaps and things. I mean, a big one that I see right across the front there, where the top part of the dash kind of meets the bottom section. Everything looks uniform there. I don't see any difference in gap as you run across it. The radio screen area right across here looks just fine to me. Where it meets up with the center dash area looks good. The bezeling around the push start area looks fine. We don't have huge differences in gapping around there. Looking up at the top, we've got the sunglass holder thing. I mean, all of this is pretty standard, right? All of that looks fine. The one area where I would ding Toyota a little bit, if I'm being picky, is right here, where the mirror affixes to the windshield. Also, I guess kind of the cover for the electronic bits and pieces of it. We have this open hole-like looking thing right here. Kind of weird when you look at it. There really should be some sort of a cover or finished area there, I think. I don't know why Toyota left it kind of open like that, but it's one of those things that once you see it, you're never going to unsee it. Every time I look at the mirror, I see that open area and I think, why? Why is that not sealed or closed? I don't know. I don't understand. Looking further over to the left, we've got the gapping here around the center gauge cluster area, and then the vents here and any kind of gapping around there. Everything looks fine to me. The buttons and things down here, I mean, these things move a little bit anyway, no big deal. I don't see any issue with that. Looking at the steering wheel, honestly, I'm not a big fan of this new steering wheel. Some people like it. I don't happen to be one of them. I just don't like the treatment of this center blocky looking area. I think it would have been nice to have it more fitting, to fit better in with everything else. It just looks like a big block here to me. One of those pet peeve kind of personal preference issues, I guess. Looking at some of the other issues, or looking at some of the other facets of the steering wheel, we've got these trim pieces here. On the 3rd gen on mine, where it kind of came across, that piece would move and even made noise when you push on it. This is nice and solid. Nothing here moves around. It all fits really well, except for where it's supposed to move. That, of course, would be the buttons and things in the steering wheel. Everything else is nice and tight. No squeaks. Nothing moves around. I kind of like that. The stitching and the seams on the cover on the steering wheel, all of that looks good to me. Nothing weird sticking up or no extra thread sticking out. I've had that happen before. Nothing crazy like that. Moving over to the center console area, again, everything looks well fitted to me. No difference in gapping or things sticking up. Even the buttons here in the center look pretty uniform, and I've had these out obviously because I put these 2 momentary switches in. But nonetheless, everything fits really well here. The plastics, I mean, they are a harder plastic, but this is an area you're probably, I wouldn't think, gonna touch. The shifter does have a little bit of a softer feel to it up on top. And then, of course, this kind of rubberized grab handle area. One thing I did want to check, let's see if this moves. Moves a little bit. Not a whole lot. And, of course, being a piece like it is going to give. I don't expect it to be absolutely firmly solid. The only issue I might note here, and I'm being very picky, is kind of this little gapping area right here. Is a little bit off, it looks like, but it is very, very minor. No issues there. Looking at the control area, everything looks fantastic there to me. No issues. And the last thing I want to mention, you may have noticed my button here or knob looks different. It's because it is. This is an aftermarket knob I put on. I wanted something bigger than that little kind of short chrome button that they had on there before. I like this much better. It gives me something that's easier to grab onto, I think. Anyway, that's just a look at the materials and the fit and finish of the plastics and surfaces in the front of the Tacoma. I don't know what people are talking about that mentioned that it seems to be cheap or thin plastic or not very, very good when it comes to quality. I guess I disagree. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think, particularly if you have a 2024 or from what you've seen in this video. I'd be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.